Hello, this is John, Vintage Fisherman. Today I've got it's a Abu Garcia Ambassador number 6000. The serial number is hard to read. No serial number. This is a first. I've never seen a reel without a serial number. This is it's not super old. Wow, no serial number on it. Well, there's a new one. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask my ambassador expert friends about this reel. It looks to be an aftermarket handle. It's got deer back on the handle. It's slightly bent. I'll have to straighten it up. The reel's got problems. It won't free spool, so I can't get the line off of it. I'm going to take the spool out of it to get the line off. The drag works, and I've got new drag for it if I need to. It's got the old style thumb screws. It's a 3-screw side plate. It's complete. Let's see if the bait clicker works. Yep. So it's a complete reel. Yeah, let's just take it apart. And hopefully somebody can tell me why my 6000 does not have a... I hate to use pliers on these, but they are stuck. Just a little turn should do it. Somebody can tell me why my 6000 doesn't have a serial number or a build date or whatever on it. We're going to pull the brake plate off. Here's your spool. Now I can get the line off of it when I get a chance. There's your centrifugal weights. They're still intact. And I will get that line off in just a few minutes. Let's go ahead and do that. I left the dirty rag down here because this is a dirty reel. It's just covered in stuff. This reel's going to clean up really pretty. It's going on the shelf. I'm not going to fish with it. I've got a shelf in my collection of just all red ambassadors. And this one will go on the shelf with all those. That's pretty wild. I don't think I've ever seen a bait clicker design like that. This might be a whole different thing for me. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Take that loose, pull the cap off. He's been used in salt water. Go. Worm gear. Oh boy, it's stuck. All right. Yeah, it's a little salty, a little crusty. It'll clean up. So there is the no serial numbered housing. I don't see anything in there. No, there's no numbers in there. There's not anything even ever been stamped in that. So I don't know. Take the spool tension knob off. There should be. Yes, there is. There's a felt washer under there. Clean those. And then there's a series of shims. These are pretty cool. They've got the hole in them. There's 2 of them with holes. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've seen that before either. There is a bushing in here, and you can either use a pair of snap ring pliers, or you can just kind of get a hold of that retainer and get it out of there. This is the bushing you can't actually get bearings for. And I made this mistake on one of my other videos. It's a 3.2 millimeter inside diameter. All you can get is, you can get them, but they're custom made bearings and they're very expensive. Most bearings are 3 millimeter. So these are just slightly larger. And if you use a 3 millimeter, just won't work. It's too tight. Let's take this part off. One screw retaining the cog gear. No shims. That post is good. This whole thing should come out of here. Oh, no, it doesn't, because it's got the handle. I would like to get that out of there, though. I think to get this out, all I have to do is remove these springs. Let's try not to lose the springs. Let's get a hook on them. Got a hook here. I should be able to pop these springs out. Or not. I'd like to clean underneath that. It's the only reason why I'm taking it out. This is going on my shelf, but that doesn't mean I don't want it to be as perfect as I can get it. Wow. These springs are overlapping. Okay. Well, maybe I can unhook them on the back side. Yeah, it's 2 reels in a row that's been a problem. So to get this plate off, you got to get the springs off that post, and that will come off. You can clean it good. But the problem I got is the springs are overlapping, twisted around each other. I'm not sure if that was done on purpose or what. Yeah. I can get it to right there. I've got my finger over it, so there we go. I got it. Now, one of them's out, the second will come out easy. It'll be harder to get in than you are to get out. There we go. All right, now what should happen here? Okay, there you go. There's the post and the little plate. And here's the clicker. And all of this should just lift out, and then I can clean underneath that. Give that all real good cleaning. Okay, moving on here. Let's take the handle off. There's 2 screws on the handle. Get the right size screwdriver here. This handle is bent, which is a common thing on these bait casting reels. I guess it's just a thing for people to slam them against everything. I don't know. There's your retainer with 2 screws, and we're going to take the handle nut off. Underneath the handle nut is a shaft retainer screw, which I like that better than the E-clips because I don't have to chase those. And here you'll see the handle is It's a little bent. It ain't horrible, I guess, but this side's worse than that side. I just take my adjustable wrench because it doesn't have any teeth to bite it, so you don't scratch the chrome. If you're worried about scratching chrome, if it's a really rare, piece, you don't want to scratch up. Wrap electrical tape around it, or painter's tape would work too. And it looks fairly close. We'll clean that good. All right, take your star off. This reel's just really nasty. I expect this to clean up really nicely. It's got some rash on it, boat rash, whatever, but that's fine. It's still going on my shelf. Okay, so you had the star. Underneath the star, I'm going to try to lay this out. So if I go back and look at the video, I know how it went on there. We'll stop right there and take these 2 screws out. The problem with this reel, why it's not working, is the spool release mechanism is frozen. You could probably just take this reel apart and shoot a little bit of WD-40 into it, and it would probably survive and be fine. That's not good enough for me. I'm going to take this reel all the way apart. Tension knob on this side is your same thing. You've got your felt washer and your shim. And I think there's only one on this side of this reel. Clean that up good. Let's take the cover off. Once the cover's off, you can push the bushing out. Oh, I've locked it up in there somehow or another. Clean that bushing good. You'll be surprised how fast these reels run with bushings. It's pretty remarkable. I never believed it until I seen it. Okay, so here's where the problem is. You see how you push this down? These are supposed to move. They're not moving. See how gummed up it is? Now watch this. I'm going to show you how to fix this if it's your reel. I don't recommend WD-40 for anything more than rust protection. But if you get you're on a fishing trip, you get to where you're going, all of a sudden your reel doesn't want to free spool. Do this to it. As this turns, see how it clicks those around? Look, they're all of a sudden they're free spooling. That's all it took, was just a shot of WD-40, folks. That's all it took. So it's the old grease gets gummed up in these reels. This reel is probably at best 45 years old. Let's where'd that come from? I believe it was like this. Did it? No. It came out from under that. Like that. I'm laying everything out. So it was a shim or a washer and then a concave washer. And then you've got, let's just take the whole shaft off. This here makes a clicking sound as drag is paid out. It lets you know if you keep cranking, you're cranking for no reason. There's your drag washer. That one goes there. Not much washers for a 6000 series reel, is it? There it is. Down here, you got a shim, which is pretty typical for all of your ambassadors. You'll have a shim on that shaft. The shaft needs to be good and tight. It shouldn't be loose in there. Here's your anti-reverse Paul. It slipped off there, but it goes on there. I'll show you that when I put it back. To get the gear off of there, push your button in and slide it right out. Now, that's as far as I'm going to take this reel down, because all this stuff is riveted. So you could take the springs off or whatever, but to get all this apart, it's riveted. So you're not going to take it apart. So I'm going to clean it just like it is right there. Okay. Man, this reel, I'm excited about cleaning this one up. This is going to be a beauty. The transformation on this reel is going to be tremendous. I wish I had new drag washers for it, but I do not. And we'll have to put it back together for what it's got. Right now, I'm going to pull this. This looks like 10-pound test on here, maybe 8. So there's about 5 million miles of that on there. I'm going to take that off right now. How I do that when I don't have it in the reel where I can use my drill and I usually use, believe it or not, I use a toilet paper, used toilet paper roll, center of the cardboard section in the middle. I shove it up on the chuck of my drill. I'll tape the line to it, and I just run. I mean, I can clean a reel off and all the line off of a reel, even that much line in just minutes, a couple of minutes. So this one, what I'm going to have to do is drop it down in a plastic bucket where it won't mess up the anodizing or anything, and I'll just start pulling on it. It'll just kind of sit there and spin around in the bucket until I get it all off of there. Just got to go slower. You can't spin it fast. So there it is. If y'all know anything about this deer back handle, it's got to be an aftermarket handle, you know. And if you know anything of why my reel wouldn't have serial numbers on it, please let me know. I'll be back when I get it cleaned up. Well, this is John, Vintage Fisherman. I'm back. This is a Abu Garcia Ambassador 6000 that doesn't have a serial number at all. And I thought, well, I've got something unique here, but maybe not. I got with some experts, and what they're telling me is this reel probably at some point in its life had a new frame put on. Maybe the old frame got twisted or hard fight or got corrosion and they decided to change it. All this one has some corrosion. So, but I noticed this reel's been used in salt water, and I mean, that could be why, you know, but it's nothing. I don't think it's anything unique. I think it's just a matter of it needed, for whatever reason, they had to change out the frame. So Garcia calls it, Abu Garcia calls it a cage. It looks like a cage, but they say this is just a replacement part, and they didn't give replacement parts a serial number or a date code because they didn't know, you know, what reel was going to go on, right? So that's what it is. It's nothing unique. I couldn't find out any information about the deer back handle. It is not the original handle to the reel, which I kind of knew that. You know, it didn't look right to begin with, but anyway, I digress. I'm going to put together now on these plates. I use Ballistol. It lubricates, protects. It's good for firearms, leather, knives, tools, locks, and marine fishing reels. It says it all in there. What I like about it for the brake plates is it's super slick. This stuff was invented in Germany in World War I. It's 1904, so it's previous World War I, but it was used in the first big major war of this world. to lubricate firearms in the field, keep them working. And what I like about it is it doesn't really dry. It never gets hard either. Well, that didn't make any sense. It never gets hard, but it does dry up. Does that make sense? I think it makes more sense than what I said anyway. You can kind of work it into little areas. I'm going to pop this, spray it all up in there. It does have an odor to it, so if you're sensitive to odor, or you've got somebody in your household that's sensitive to odor, it smells like, to me, it smells like licorice, like I don't know, licorice candy. If you a Twizzler or whatever, licorice. If you smell it, that's what it smells like to me. But we'll let that sit for it. It does a little better if you let it dry a little bit before you put it together. So I'm gonna start on this side of the reel. You know, over here, remember I had to take a couple things apart. I'm gonna put this bushing back in. These bushings they're located. They've got a little tab on them that goes. See how it's got that little cutout right there? It'll go on that. Slide in there. Okay. And then on your cap, I'll drop a little bit of oil in here. Then it gets 2 of these shims. And then it gets a felt washer, which I've already oiled, but I always add just a little bit more oil to it. And then before you put that on there, you got to put the snap ring back in. And you can usually just push that snap ring back into place. Sometimes give it a little bit of help with a screwdriver. Just like that. I'll lubricate the threads. Too much on there. When you put this on, you got a slot in that cap. That slot needs to line up with that wire. And you'll have to thread it on just a little bit, and it'll eventually just pop in there, and then you can turn it on. The wire will turn with the cap. And I'm going to show you how to set that. There's a dial on here. It turns, and you can set the 0 wherever you get your 0 set, where your spool is free floating but not loose. You set your 0 there, and then you can dial in more or less spool tension for your cast. And you can simply look down and say, okay, I had it set on 2 for a 3/8 ounce spinnerbait or whatever. And then you can always go back to that. Okay. So let's put the rest of this together. It had this little plate on here. Okay. And then your knob goes through. We can put we don't need to put anything on that. We're going to hold on to that. Okay. This big plate here. Now, I want something on there to keep it from rusting. Give it a little small smear of grease up in there. This goes on like that. Okay. And then your poker or your clicker going like that. And then you got to pull these springs back over top. Probably the best way to do it. I use a pair of tweezer pliers. They're not needle nose because they don't have teeth on them, but they're, for all intents and purposes, they're pliers. We'll pop one on and pop the other one on. It'll go just like that. Okay. Now for your gear, a little bit of oil. Whoa, dropping things everywhere today. Go on there. Doesn't hurt to put just a dab of grease in that screw hole. Oh yeah, that's spinning good. Then we can go ahead and pre-oil that bushing just a little bit with some Go Fast. And set that aside. Next thing is your level line. How I do it, the end with the slots and the plastic bushing, some of the newer reels will have, like a C4 will have a bearing there. They'll have two bearings on each side. But those two little prongs go up into that case right there, in that cage. This is a right-hand reel. We're going to come in. This was stuck. I don't know if y'all remember that or not, but when I took it apart, pry on a little bit to get that level line guide off of there. And it's still, I'm not real happy with that. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of, it needs a little help. See if I've got something to help it with. Should have files here somewhere. Hold on a minute. There again, where's all my tools at? Here we go. I use the heck out of these things. I'm going to take a round file. Well, it's a half round. I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to kind of dress that up a little bit where it's got some corrosion that my cleaning equipment is not going to get out. It's just not going to happen. So we're going to go in there and kind of knock that corrosion off, but I don't want to get into the chrome. I just want to knock the corrosion off. I can see where it's at. It's right up in here. Right there. All right, I'll take a Q-tip with some oil on it. Go in there and clean that corrosion out. Now let's see how it slides on there. Look at that. There we go. All right, now we can put this in. So the top end of that line guide rides in a groove up here. See, and it goes back and forth like this. Before you put this in there, give it a little shot of oil. It's a little bit easier to oil right here. Make sure that bushing is good and free, okay? Spin free. If that bushing's locked up, this reel will not cast worth a hoot. You may not need this reel to cast good. It may be that you're using this reel for straight drops, you know. I put a little bit of oil on this end of the worm gear and it's in there. So we'll put the retainer back on it. That retainer can go either way. This one's already pre-bent to go like that. Okay. Now, a little bit of oil and Paul, you want to inspect those. That one's like brand new. Somebody's just put that in there. When they go in there, though, if they're not seated, they're not going to be all the way down flush. What you can do is turn this while you're giving just a little bit of pressure and see how it's down in there all the way now. You're good. Little dab of grease. This is to keep this cap from getting corroded. It kind of keeps the salt water intrusion out of it. Crank it over to one side and tighten it. You don't want to over tighten it, just snug it. And oil your worm gear, oil your groove up here, the top of it, the bar. You want to get some oil on that. It already feels slicker. Look at that. Look at that. That will make that reel cast a whole lot better. You don't have to super tune every one of these damn reels. You just don't have to do it. All right. Little dab of grease there, there, and there. On the cog gear, I always just a little bit of a decent oil. I've already lubricated the bushing. So this thing's ready to go together. We'll put it on just like that. All 3 screws back in it. And so old Mr. No Number here is what my nickname is for this reel. Almost ready to go to work on the gear side, what they call the brake plate side. Cold day here in the mountains of Virginia. 41, 42 degrees, and it's early September. I have a feeling, if this is any indication, I think we're going to have some actual winter this year. We haven't had one in a while. Okay, something else I need to do is just a little bit of grease down there on that clipper. Now we can make sure the clipper, yep, that's good. All right, we're done with that. The spool, not a lot to do here. Just these 2 centrifugal weights, they just slide back on this older style reel, they just slide on there. You can't lock them. Somebody has made that. We're going to check something out on that before we get too far into it. We'll leave that right there for now. All right, over here on the drive side, first thing back in is the pinion. We'll grease that up good. Grease the pinion. Try to get some grease down in that groove. And then we'll unlock it, drop it back into place. See? Then it'll kind of hold itself there, and I can get some grease on the gear. It'll kind of hold itself there. It won't hold itself there real good. Okay. First thing back in is this shim. Something has gotten on that piece of dirt. Okay. Then we've got the anti-reverse dog. It's got 2 little ears on it. They slide over top of that. You want that to be a firm friction ride there. You don't put any oil. Don't put any oil on it. I mean, you can have a light covering. This has got a light covering oil, but I mean, don't purposefully oil this or grease it. You want that friction. This is a silent anti-reverse. It relies on friction to lock the dog down. A little dab of oil on that post, some oil on the shaft, oil on that the bore and then the shaft. You'll want to line the anti-reverse dog up with that peg. It goes down just like that. Okay. I'm reusing the original drag washers. This reel is going to sit on the shelf. I'm trying to keep it halfway original. I don't think I'm ever going to fish with it since it's a right-handed reel. Put some cowls on there and slide that drag washer down. Now your gear, grease it good. The gear was in pretty good shape. It didn't have a lot of grease choked down in it. I think the reel had been cleaned at some point in its life. The only problem is those, I forget what Ambassador calls them, but they're the free spool release mechanism was just frozen to the brake plate. I'm not sure why, but it wouldn't release. It wouldn't lock the spool and the free spool. So we'll put that back on there, line it up with the pinion. If you spin this thing at this point, spin it all, you're going to kick that anti-reverse dog out without the cover on. The cover is what keeps that anti-reverse dog engaged. Okay, you leave that alone. Don't spin anything. Lubricate your inner drag washer. Not a lot of drag to this 6000. Not like the newer reels have. Okay, done with the cowls. This is it's a press plate, but it's got these ears on, which they don't do this on newer reels. These ears right over top of that spring, and if the fish you're fighting is pulling drag out, it'll make a clicking sound. Or if you're cranking the reel and you're not getting anywhere with it, the drag's too loose to bring in line, or the fish is pulling too hard, it'll click. So you're not doing any good. Just stop turning. Just walk away. Just leave it alone. Okay, now we had concave washer, convex, whichever way you're looking at it. Then it had a regular washer. And it was a shim. And then this plastic bushing. Now, this reel it's a no bearing reel. Okay, there's no bearings in this reel. You could possibly change that out for that plastic bushing out for bearing. I haven't measured it, but let's just see what size it is. I'll get my handy dandy. I'm set up in inches. Let's go to millimeters, because this is a European reel. So your thickness is 3.92, which you might as well just say 4 millimeters thick. Your OD is 11.47, so that's 11 and a half. Seems odd, doesn't it? No, I'm sorry, I had something crooked. Here we go. 12.5. So it's 12 and a half millimeters. It's not quite a 13, so that's not going to work. And then your inside diameter is 7.93, so it's just a really odd size. I don't know. I don't know of a bearing that will be a direct replacement for that. Maybe somebody else will chime in and say, yeah, you can get this, you can get that. That's cool. We'll go ahead and put the cap on out here. Once again, you got a bushing with the little locator on it, and it just goes right in there, just like that. Okay. I've cleaned those bushings really well. You got a cap. Put a little bit of oil in there. We're going to put the shim in there, a little more oil, and you got your felt washer. The felt is to keep water intrusion out and keep oil in. Okay. This is where you would adjust your center of the spool. You don't adjust your spool tension, your casting tension out here. You would do that on the palm side. I usually just run them all the way down and see how well it centers everything up. So this reel is just about done here. We're going to put a little dab of grease there, a little dab of grease there, a little dab of grease there. Put cover over the brake plate. Got 2 screws. Why does it want to be a thing? There we go. Perfect. Love the simplicity of these reels. That's why they last so long. There's nothing complicated about an Ambassador. And that screwdriver doesn't want to fit too good. So I use Snap-on screwdrivers because I got a good deal on them from a Snap-on. I'm a diesel mechanic, if you don't know. So I do buy a lot of Snap-on tools, but these Harbor Freight Pittsburgh precision screwdrivers, they work perfectly for fishing reels. That's all you need for the smaller screws. There is straight blade and Phillips head in here. You won't tear anything up with them. You're not putting enough pressure on them to break them. If you do, you take them back and get another set. All right, so we got that. Let's go ahead and put the drag on. This is a right hand reel, so it's going to be right hand thread. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. You'll sometimes get to a point where it don't want to turn down on there. You can put the handle on, hold it until you get it down. They get to a tight spot, almost every reel does, where that handle's been wallering around on it, and then you can get it down past that. And once you get the handle on there, you just do that, and you can put this screw in. That's the retaining screw for the handle. It does go down snug, okay? And then you've got your handle nut. It says oil there, okay? So you can definitely you can oil right down in that hole. That oils that whole shaft, okay? Put your nut on there. Well, almost like an acorn nut, I guess. You've got to orient this in the right way. This was loose when I got the reel. I think that will do it. Then you got this retainer. This thing just, it sits on here. It works like a wrench, but then it locks it. It's got locking tabs. I don't have it quite right, do I? I'm either going to have to tighten it way too damn tight or not tight enough. And they had it too loose, so we're going to try that. Perfect. You got two screws that go on here. Like I said, this is an aftermarket handle. Don't know the significance of it. If anybody out there knows anything about deerback handles, it's got to be something from the 70s. I don't know. I've never seen that brand anywhere on a shelf. All right. Something I want to look at on this spool is to make sure, okay, it seems to be okay. All right. We're going to oil that shaft up really well. Put it in there. Just like that. We'll give these some grease, these threads. Slide both of those centrifugal weights in. Oil that shaft up. And your reel is about done. Here on your shaft, on your handle paddles, give it some oil. All right, let's see what we got. We're centered pretty good. Maybe back off this one just a little bit. Come in with this one. Okay, so I got it zeroed. It feels pretty good. See how it's engaging the spool, disengaging and engaging. Okay, so I've got the spool zeroed where it doesn't have much side to side slop. You'll take this peg right here, a little hard on your fingernail, slide it around here to where it's zero, so that where that wire is pointing at that tab, it's a zero. And if you want to add some tension, you come down here and you say, okay, I got about 2 or 3 tension on it. And you can always go back to zero where you know you're centered. That's how that works. Let's see how slick it is. You know, with no line on there to give it any weight, inertia, folks, that's pretty slick. I like that reel. Drag is working. We can crank into it. Oh yeah. I wouldn't say it's the greatest drag in the world. These older reels weren't like the newer reels, but you see what I'm saying about that clicker. If your spool is locked and you're okay, so say you're not gaining any line and you're cranking it, it makes that sound. Just stop cranking. You're not gaining any line. You're just burning drag up. So there it is. The no number, old Mr. No Number. That's gonna be my conversation piece on the shelf. Is I don't know when it was made. It's a nice old reel. It's got some upgrades from way back on it. You know, it's just kind of a cool old reel. Got the old style Ambassador, you know, written in cursive on the side. I like that. I love these old Ambassadors. I'm getting ready to do another one here in just a little bit. I've got a 35th anniversary edition to do, which is going to go on the same shelf with this one. It's a right-hand reel. I'll never fish with it. It's a little scuffed up. It ain't pretty. It's a 5,000. You know what? It's red, so it's going on my red shelf. This is John, Vintage Fisherman. Please like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel. So you'll get to see a video either every Wednesday or every Saturday. That's when my videos come out. Give you something to look forward to. A little bathroom material. This is John. Talk to you later.